Hey everybody. I make no bones about the fact that I seldom watch other people's fish keeping channels. I kind of do my own thing, roll my own way, and I shoot videos about whatever topics are on my particular mind on any given day. But from time to time, I do like to sort of check out what's going on and get a feel for the zeitgeist and see what other people are talking about. And I will watch some videos that are recommended, videos that my viewers watch, and I'll read some comments and so on and so forth. And over the last few weeks, I've been noticing this sort of trending idea amongst a certain sort of mentality that it's almost as though there's some sort of right way or correct way of keeping fish, and that all of us as fish keepers are on this journey to this one end destination, and just where we are in our journey to getting there to being the right kind of fish keeper is just a matter of how enlightened you are, whether you realize you need to be on this journey or whatever. And it just seems like an odd way of looking at the hobby, and it's not how I view the hobby at all. I don't think there's any right way of keeping fish at all. Now, let me first establish what I've said in the past. I believe that people that keep fish should care about their fish. I don't think if you're being completely neglectful, or if you bang on the glass because you think it's funny watching all the fish panic, and you know, there's a difference between not keeping fish properly and somebody who actually cares about their fish and is doing the best they can or whatever. Having established that sort of maxim for what I'm going to call good fish keeping, how you do that is up to you as far as I'm concerned. If you like having a bare glass tank with a sponge filter in the middle of it because you enjoy watching your 4 or 5 discus swim back and forth, do that. You're keeping your fish correctly if that's what you like your fish to do in that type of situation. It's not harming the fish. It's not a wrong way of keeping fish. It's not how I would do it. It's not my particular style of keeping fish, but neither is an African cichlid tank. I don't have a blackwater tank. I've never really done much with saltwater. I dabbled with it. It wasn't my thing, and I wasn't interested in it. There's all kinds of different ways to keep fish. Now, you could say you're not doing it correctly if you're talking about a specific type of aquarium. If you're setting up a blackwater aquarium, for example, and you have no tannin in the water, now you can say you're doing it wrong. That's not a blackwater aquarium if you don't have tannin in the water. That's kind of what makes it a blackwater aquarium. Likewise with a brackish system, if you had no salt in it, you can't call it a brackish system, or you're doing it wrong or whatever. As far as fish keeping itself, the idea that we're all on this journey to creating this sort of perfect fish tank that sort of recreates what happens in nature, and that's the pinnacle of fish keeping. Once you've achieved that, that's the pinnacle of fish keeping. You've done the perfect tank. It's fully self-sustaining, and you know, that's a neat goal. That is something that could be fun to do, but that doesn't necessarily make it the right way of keeping fish. It doesn't make it everybody's goal. I don't necessarily have any desire to ever get there. I like going in that sort of direction, but I have my own very specific thoughts about what nature and natural environments and so on and so forth. I probably wind up shooting another video where I talk specifically about that. That's actually one of my pet peeves. The word natural gets thrown around a lot, and just like the word organic gets thrown around a lot in a lot of different industries and has a lot of different meanings and a lot of different misuses, and it's generally more used for misleading people or advertising purposes than it is having any real true meaning in what we're talking about. But I've got some very specific ideas of what I think about as a natural environment and so on and so forth. But as far as our goals in the hobby and our goals in fish keeping, we don't all have the same goals, and we don't all have the same desires. We don't all want the same thing, and that's fine. That's what makes the world go round. It'd be a terrible place if we all did. That's very, very cult-like if we were all working towards that same goal of having that same fish tank at the end of the road. There's lots of people out there that want a bare glass fish tank. There's a lot of people out there that think that's better to do because, you know, all this stuff in the tank, it promotes bacterial growth, and there's a lot of people who really don't like having algae in their tank. You know, my only problem with the people in the algae is when people say my tanks are dirty because they have algae in them. That's a very misunderstood idea of what dirty means in a fish tank. If you don't like algae, that's fine. If you think the tank should be spotless and clean and shiny and sparkly and all that, again, not my thing. But if that's what you like, have at it. You're doing it correctly if you get in there and you scrape your glass down and you get it nice and clean and you get all that algae out of the tank because you hate that algae. It's your aquarium. If you hate algae, don't have algae in your aquarium, you know? If you like pink gravel and sunken pirate ships and all that stuff, put them in your tank and don't let anybody tell you not to, because if it's your aquarium, it should be what you like it to be. And as far as the style of keeping fish, it's no different. You know, again, an African cichlid tank is nothing anywhere approaching natural, but a lot of people like them. Again, not my thing, but a lot of people like African cichlid tanks. Again, it disturbs me to think that there's, you know, this idea that there's just one way of keeping fish, because there really isn't. And there's nothing wrong with keeping fish the way you're keeping them. I know people that set up automatic water change systems. I know people that like to do sort of fanatical water changes. They do water changes 2, 3, 4 times a week, depending on the type of fish they keep. I don't think that's necessary no matter what kind of fish you're keeping, or maybe you're overfeeding or something. I don't know why you'd need to do water changes that frequently. But if that's what you enjoy doing and that's what you get out of the hobby or whatever, I'm not going to say you're doing it wrong. You know, I'd have a conversation with you about why you're doing it that way, and maybe we could learn from each other or something. I don't know. But I'm not going to say you're doing it wrong just because you're not doing it the way I do it. So don't let anybody intimidate you into thinking that you're doing it wrong, or that there's a certain way you should be doing it, or there's any specific goal you're supposed to have. You do you. You set your tank up the way you like it. You have the goals. You know, maybe someday you'd like to have a huge, you know, all natural aquarium. Maybe you don't, you know, but don't let anybody tell you that that's supposed to be your goal and that you're some kind of unenlightened or failed or less than fish keeper because you haven't achieved that goal, or you're unenlightened because you haven't realized yet that that should be your goal. That's the other aspect of it. If you don't know that this is what you should be doing yet, well, then you just aren't enlightened enough to realize that this is how you should be doing it. That's nonsense. Don't let anybody tell you that kind of stuff. If you have no desire to do that, you like your little bare glass bottom tank, or you know, you like your little bit of gravel and your weekly water changes because you've got some guppies in there and that's all you ever want to do because you enjoy your guppies, have at it. That's the way you should do it, and that's exactly how I've done it for years. I don't have really complicated or sophisticated fish tanks. I got a lot of stuff in them, and they're busy and they're crowded, but they're not sophisticated at all. I've just started my first deep bed tank, and we're going to see how that goes. In a year from now, I may be preaching the word about the deep bed sand, and then we should do all our tanks that way or whatever. But I'm not going to say you should do your tank that way. If that's the way I decide that I want to go with my tanks, then that's fine. But that doesn't mean that that's how anybody else should go with theirs, And again, so don't let anybody try to intimidate you into, doing something you don't like or that you're not comfortable with, or believing you're, not doing it right or whatever. Anyway, you get the idea. Those are my 2 cents on that whole sort of mentality of there's a correct way of keeping fish. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about the topic. And if you want to hear my thoughts about a natural environment and a natural aquarium and all that kind of stuff, let me know and I can sit down and shoot another video like this where I talk about that subject. So make sure you're subscribed. If you want to help support me, you can always do the super thanks. That's kind of like a super applause or whatever. They keep changing the name on it or whatever. It's a small donation you can make to say thank you for the time and effort I put into my videos. You can also subscribe to a membership. I have those available now. And don't forget to check out my other channel, Dan's Outdoors and More. I just posted a cute video of my kittens playing out in the garden the other day. So make sure you check that out. There's a link down below. So thanks for watching this one. Make sure you're subscribed. I'll see you real soon in the next one.